Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose it?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
All right, man. Are you ready? I think we're funked out because it's a Thursday and it's like we've been watching a movie like every day and
yeah, I kind of like, and it's like we're the movie we're about to talk about right now. It's fine, it's great, love it, sure, whatever, but I want to talk about all the other movies too. So it's like the fact we're like every year we are like I don't know this is our fourth year, right?
Yeah, it's
our fourth year doing Hortober.
Yeah.
And the first 2 years we just waited and we did like all the movies at the end of like a wrap up.
Yeah.
and then we tried doing like a movie a week like we're doing now. So we're trying to get our podcast flow going.
Every year we're trying to we're like adding to it every year more things. So this year, so this is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge Podcast. That's Jordan. I'm Levi. We this spooky Horror-tober episode
out, dude, because I got my pumpkins carved already and they're rotting out.
I saw that. I'm like,
yard.
it's like October 3rd. You're like, hell yeah.
yeah. I mean, we could just do it again. Maybe we'll go get another pumpkin.
Well, if you don't get them now, all the fucking good pumpkins are gone by the time it's time to actually carve them. So you have to get them early.
No, dude, here in Seattle, baby, we have so many good pumpkins. You have no idea.
Well, you got good pumpkins now. Wait until October 25th. You ain't got shit.
No, I'm telling you, we got farms here. We go
whatever.
We pick them. We pick them live.
You think
baby.
You got more pumpkin farms than Utah? We're only farms, baby. Just kidding. I guess most of Washington is also farms.
It's farms. Yeah.
Anyway, we're this is a farming podcast now.
I know. Yeah. Now, welcome. This is gonna be farming knowledge. I'll tell you how to seed, and I'll get the almanac out and start reading it.
So
I won't bore you. I'm gonna bore you with vampires.
As we said, we're watching all the movies. We're watching one a day, as we do. We're voting as per usual, which is new for October every week. And this week, Bram Stoker's Dracula won, which we're covering. So every week we're doing whatever the vote is. We're doing the pod on that. Then at the start of next month, we're going to do all the other movies. So fear not. If you really want to hear our thoughts on the Dawn of the Dead remake, you're just going to have to wait a few more weeks.
I'm going to talk about it right this second. So Dawn of the Dead, it opens up where a nurse Jackie has to come through.
It is.
And her husband actually, I don't know, boyfriend gets all fucked up. Because the neighbor girl comes over, dude. It's like so brutal.
They seem pretty domesticated. Anyway, it's like, husband, I guess.
Okay, so speaking of sick openings, this is Dracula.
Yes.
Bram Stoker's, and you said Strokers earlier, which is amazing because I say Strokers when I'm not. Well, I don't mean to.
I don't mean
literally
to
just like it's just like when I say Bram. I think it's like Bram Strokers. Just sounds right.
It does something about like because Bram with the R like Strokers.
Made up name, anyways.
Yeah,
whatever. It's not a real human being.
No, of course not.
But Dracula, Dracula, yeah, dude. That voice is pretty fun. Okay, I don't know, man. I'm all over the place. I'm feeling weird. What is?
I know I'm like stone cold sober too, which is unfortunate.
I don't even know what. Oh, which is wild. I've never seen you the alcohol level volume 0.0, dude. That's tripping me out. But whose turn was it? I think it's mine, right?
Dude, it's been weird. I don't know. We can just so
we're off.
Just hit the beats. We can go through it if you're not familiar with the story of Dracula, and specifically this version directed by Francis Ford Coppola of Godfather fame, Francis Ford Coppola, right? So that's why I wanted to see this movie for so long.
The winery fame. That's how I know him. I used to get blasted on his wine, and then I was like, wait, this wine man is a director?
Yeah,
weird.
Obviously. So tell the folks at home, Jordan, what What's the deal? What's this Dracula guy about? One of the oldest
So-
horror stories, hundreds of years old.
Nosferatu.
Hundreds
He
of
lives-
adaptations.
He lives in this big castle, all right? And he's from Transylvania, which I still, to this day, legitimately don't know if Transylvania is real or not. So, anyways.
Was it like back in the 1800s?
Is it
Maybe
real?
like countries
Is it
don't
real?
exist anymore.
Please. I don't know if the author of this, who wrote this in like the late 1800s, if he made up Transylvania, because it's like, there's probably like Romania and like, there's probably like Trans province or something. There's probably like, did he mash those together? Or is Transylvania real? Anybody out there in podcast land, come email us at, coldeststonerknowledge@gmail.com.
It's like
or
it
come on
like
our Reddit.
very basic one Google search away, but like
I
I
know,
want
but
to
I
hear
like-
it from the people.
I love living in like this. I like the limbo too.
Call
like,
me and tell me.
I like my like education is like, I haven't been to high school in like 10 years, so I don't even know. I haven't been to school in 10 years. I don't know what's right anymore. I've just watched movies.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this iteration of a very old tale. Apparently this is supposed to be really. I mean, it's weird to say like it's really faithful to the book, but it hits
the
like
beats,
it embellishes. It embellishes
Yeah.
The romance a lot more.
Oh yeah, it
where-
like hits
where,
all the
like-
story beats in a way. Like
Yeah.
if you had wrote down the book of Dracula into like a Wikipedia quick snippet, it hits that like
Right.
pretty close.
Right,
But
because that's so
it's like
basically-
all the flavors totally different. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's definitely not as melodic and dry and like kind of like slow, because the book has a lot more. So this movie does a lot of like narration, which the book does as well, with like passages, like diary passages and whatever ship logs and stuff.
Mhm.
But I've never read the book, so this was kind of just.
I've read like half of the book,
a little bit.
and
But-
as far as my understanding, it is all from like first person diary perspective. Like
Okay, so it all is. Okay.
like it's all
But-
written from different characters' point of views, but it's always like journal entries and shit.
Right, their encounters with Dracula. But so this movie gives you a more like straightforward narrative where Vlad the Impaler, he's an old war general for the God's army, and he has a love, and his love hears some misinformation, she kills herself. He comes back, he gets upset, he cries, and he devotes himself to evil. He thinks if God can take his love, then he's evil. So now he's evil forever. And so he becomes evil because he drinks the blood. What is it? What's the saying? It's like the power's in the blood or something like that. What
Oh
do
yeah,
they
the
say?
life in the blood or something.
Life in the blood. But so he drinks the blood, and then we fast forward 400 years, and with something Harkonnens, the Harkonnen has to go, and what's his name again? I'm looking at Interview with the Vampire. I'm not on.
You said that too in your review. I saw.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because he's like Harkonnen, dude. I thought this movie was. I've only seen Interview with the Vampire. This is my first time I've ever seen this movie. So Okay,
That's
Jonathan-
pleasant surprise.
Jonathan Harkin and Mina, they're
Expertly played by
I know, yeah, Keanu.
Keanu.
Dude, so I mean, I'll fight you, dude. Keanu's so good. But anyways, Jonathan Harkin, he's some businessman that needs to get a deed signed by the Count, Mr. Dracula. So he goes to his home, he takes the train there, and he kind of gets trapped in the labyrinth of the home because Dracula sees Mina, an old like pocket picture of Mina, and it reminds him of it's a reincarnation of his 400-year-old lost love. And so Dracula collects a bunch of his dirt and his earth, because that's kind of part of the curse of being a Dracula, is you have to keep your earth with you. And this pretty much set the stage for like the book set the stage for pretty much all vampires that have come since. And like,
it's
any
iconic.
popular
It's like-
culture vampire you can think of, that's pretty much from that book. And then this is kind of a retelling, and this is great because like the whole time I was watching this, I'm like, Nosferatu made this like it's so much better, dude.
And they just Nosferatu is
And
so good, but it's so funny because it's like I don't remember the last, because I've seen the 30s Dracula, and I'm familiar with the story in the book a little bit. I read like half of it, and I know the story, right? But in my mind, it's always just Nosferatu, and I get it mixed up. I'm like, oh yeah, Nosferatu is just a ripoff, but it's so much better.
Right. Well, because Nosferatu is like the like story arc, but it's not. It doesn't have the same like he's still a count and everything, but Nosferatu like is the story. It's just
it's
like
the
probably
horror, man.
laws.
Yeah. It is. No, they were
like
trying to get sued, but back then in the fucking 20s, they're like, fuck you. Like, what do we care? We're in Germany.
Well, and it was German. Yeah, it's like German. So who fucking how like can lawyers even get over there? How do you even take a train to Germany? So
that's how they. That's why they started the war, is to avoid the lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right there you go. Well, boy howdy, where were we? So
he comes to London into
crazy.
search for Rachel Weisz's character.
Dracula comes back to find Mina, and during this, Mina's with her like rich friend who's her subplot is like she's gonna have three different suitors and she has to choose who she wants.
I said Rachel Weisz, I meant Winona Ryder. I don't know why I got them mixed up.
Right. Yeah, whatever.
I just gotta clarify real quick. Winona Ryder. I mean,
it's Winona. Yeah. You can see her. It looks just like her. So
yeah.
She's like, I don't know. They have this weird arc where like they have to start being like erotic because like Dracula's got such large powers that he can kind of just control people from
he's the sexy bad boy. Yeah.
Because it's weird. It's like he's bestowed crazy powers that are just kind of throughout the universe. I don't know. It's weird. So anyways, he gets her, hot and bothered for him because he comes back and because of his homeland Earth and he's got internal Viagra and it like pops him up and he's just this old, young, real sexy, like smooth, velvety vampire that can like seduce any woman he wants. And he, locks his eyes on Mina, goes after her, and God, that scene when he's just like, notice me, senpai, notice me.
Yeah,
I did. She does like look back and stuff. But anyways, they get together and her brain gets twisted because she gets finger popped by him and he's just like, she's blown away that like, she's like, what sex? Cause like Jonathan Harker was like too prudish. He like didn't even, he's like, oh, I don't even know what my erection means.
Her promiscuous friend.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
Since Dracula can't fuck her, he ends up fucking her friend, like Lisa or whatever.
Well, oh, right. Yeah, because she's super easy.
Well, she turns into she gets turned into a vampire.
Oh, that's right. What happens to her though? Did she get her head cut off?
Yeah, they cut her head off. That's actually my favorite scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. I love all the like. We'll get into it later. I know that's like,
we're off the. Anyway, button it up.
Who cares? It's like Dracula dies at the end.
Escapes. He escapes, and he's like, his hair's all white now.
Oh, and he gets like, I forgot Van Helsing, my favorite character of all. Yeah. He's my favorite. He's my favorite character in the vampire.
And he rules
lore.
Yeah, Van Helsing's awesome, and he rules in this because Anthony Hopkins is the best.
Anthony Hopkins is dope. So so Van Helsing, this doctor, he comes. Oh, that's right. He comes to help the friend. And because he's like a mad scientist that knows like he knows all about the blood, and he comes and he sees her and he's like, oh man, she's a vampire, guys. And they were like, oh no, that's not good. So he gets his band together and he gets the three suitors and they all like posse up, and then there's like a Wild West show at the end, and they slit his throat and they like stab Dracula, and they get them all down, and Winona Ryder's like, "Oh my God, my true love."
Yeah, she goes full on for Dracula and drinks his blood and becomes a vampire.
Becomes a vampire,
because
the
only way to break the curse is to kill him, and so he's mortally wounded. So she kills him at the end to put him out of his misery and all that, and she's the one who ends it. And then I guess fuck Keanu. Yeah, fuck Keanu Reeves though. I guess because
he's fine. He'll bounce back. I don't know.
He'll bounce back, but it's just
like, he got drained, dude, by those concubines. Those three witches, dude. That was like three whatever vampire brides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, that's the gist. That's it.
I don't know. It's kind of like if you've made it this far in life, if you're like 8 and you're listening to this podcast, I don't know where your parents are. You should go find them. But
if you're 8, check out our Patreon. Get your mom's credit card.
Go right now, for the love of God. Get your mom's credit card. Put it under Tim. She'll have no idea what's getting charged. Yeah. She won't know how to stop it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
Yeah.
vampires are pretty fun. I don't know. It's weird. I'm not that big of a fan of vampires, but then when I think about like watching this movie and then thinking about it afterwards, I've consumed a lot of vampire media.
And this
in my
month,
life.
there's a
And-
lot of vampire movies this month, man. And
Yeah.
like we, for some reason, leaned pretty heavily into vampires and like serial killers this month,
Right.
like pretty heavily.
Right. Slash, like yes, it's like slash.
We
and
got
then
like
serial-
one zombie movie, but like, I mean, this
Yeah.
won the poll, but like, there was another vampire movie on the poll. We got Salem's Lot like next week, and I'm interested.
Girl walks home alone at night. It's
30,
like, yeah,
30 Days of Night.
30 days. Yeah, we did a lot of. What's that's what's funny. It's like I've seen a lot of the. When I think of vampire, I haven't seen like Dracula or whatever, like the original.
The Bela Lugosi.
1930s
Dracula.
Bela Lugosi. I haven't seen that movie. I've seen him clearly, and I know
It's
his setup.
It's cool.
but- right? Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen. You know what? I don't think I've seen. Oh, have
Any
I
of the
seen
Universal
Frankenstein?
monsters?
I'm trying to think. I mean, it's Invisible Man, because we watched that. Go listen to that
The best
episode.
one, yeah.
But yeah, it's so sick. But anyways, so vampire lore stuff. It's like I watched like so having seen Nosferatu, the 1920s version.
Yeah.
I've seen that like 3 or 4 times, and I love that film and I adore it.
And we even covered the Werner Herzog 70s remake with Klaus
That's
Kinski
right.
and
That's what it
Nosferatu a
is.
couple years ago.
And then that Nosferatu, which was like the first time I've seen it, that Nosferatu is like sick. That's like that is a sick remake.
Wow.
And then
It's very
you know,
similar story if you take out all the romance and just focus, because like Nosferatu is a horrific monster. He's not a sexy man that has these shapeshifting.
Yes,
like
right.
Nosferatu is a undead cretin that has no charm because he doesn't know how to connect with humanity anymore. He's
and like in Nosferatu,
which I just like more, you know.
They don't play like the romance. That's where like this one deviates the most, is where
Right.
they make it where it's like a lost love, which I kind of like that. I like the narrative. I
Yeah.
hate the execution, but I like the idea.
Yeah.
And so it's like because in Nosferatu, it's just he sees her and he goes, well, I think she's banging, so I'm gonna leave my castle and go
Well, I just-
try to seduce your girlfriend.
Fixate on that, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
right.
the love
So-
angle becomes between, the hero that would be Harker,
Yeah.
right, or whatever, and then her.
Right.
So this one is becomes like more of a weird love triangle.
Kind of, yeah.
But I don't know why, like vampires. I mean, I know why, but like vampires are so romantic. Like they're always so 75% of vampire stories have some weird romance angle, and I guess that's why we're just like a bunch of jaded butch boys, and we don't want our we just want monsters.
My romance is like, I mean, Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
The Right One In is beautiful.
That's
That's
so
one of
good.
the
And that
greatest.
is a good
it's one of the
romance,
greatest
too.
one of the greatest vampire movies ever made.
Well, it's
and it's
'cause,
like
being a
it's
vampire is
amazing.
lonely. You know what I mean? I get that.
right. And
Um,
but I love like, and that honestly, so it's comedy first, but what we do in the shadows, the movie's decent, but the show, the series, like even though it's strictly comedy, they bring up amazing points that are like, so I mean, I love like they bring up like how like vampire rules, and they just like they create something new out of it, but like keep to the old, like, which is so funny because it's like there are no rules. You could do whatever you want. Like Blade really flipped the fucking script, and like I love Blade. I think those movies rock. And so it's like, I'm sure they probably didn't age well, and I haven't seen them in
It's been a while.
15 years.
We should rewatch the first couple Blades anyway.
I know, dude. It would be sick to, because you gotta get down on Blade, man. I remember it was like brutal when I saw it when I was a kid, but I saw that at a drive-through, dude. Or
Guillermo del
drive-in.
Toro, man.
He directed that?
He directed the second one at least. I don't know for sure if he directed the first one.
Yeah, I don't remember the first, but I remember seeing the first one in theater, like in a drive-through, and oh my god, drive-in, and it terrified me. I was like creeped out, dude, by it. Like when he's got like hidden down in like the cave or whatever, and it's like they're throwing
he's
bones
cool.
at him.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's brutal. Because he's like,
anyway,
yeah.
this movie is
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
we're
right.
already. I feel like it's gonna be a long-winded one, maybe, but maybe not. We always say that. So
I don't
you,
know.
it turns out you haven't seen this, and
No.
I haven't seen it either because it's been on. I've always been like, oh, Francis Ford Coppola, Dracula, stellar cast.
know
Like
that.
that's a
I've
winning
seen-
combination.
I've
You know what I mean?
I've seen the Gary Oldman's. I've seen his Dracula, like, you know,
for sure.
interpretation.
It's pretty
hundreds
iconic.
of times.
Pretty iconic.
I've seen it like parodied, and I've seen like everything about it, and like it's weird because I don't know why I know this movie because I know Dracula, but like I didn't know how sexy it was, and like seeing Van Helsing and stuff, it's like there's so many movies that have like ripped this off, but then yet this movie ripped off so much stuff too.
Well, this is a story, one of the oldest, story of the genre, right? So it's like everything. They had to do a lot to stand out, and they did, I guess. You know what I mean, for better or worse. So I appreciate the ambition because it's like a story that up until this point has been done so many times between Dracula iterations and Nosferatu and everything, and God knows how many were even lost to time, right? In the early days of film, that shit was fucking adapted other times. And so they had to do something crazy. And it's like, you got to think Francis Ford Coppola was like considered one of the greatest living directors of the, 20th century or whatever. And so it's just like, I imagine there was a lot of pressure to make this stand out.
Did
and
you
it's
know
a weird route they went with it?
Well, of course. But do you know he was in like financial ruin?
Yeah, no, I did know that. Like he actually did have a hard time, like kind of putting it together. By the end, it's like people think just sometimes if you because you make some of the quote unquote best movies of all time, that like some people will always give you money, but the end of his career. I mean, he's got a movie coming out pretty soon, right? Isn't he doing the Megatropolis or whatever?
Right. Yeah, Megalopolis or whatever.
Yeah.
But God, he's got such a weird man. We did, Godfather, and you can go listen to that one. But it's like, it's weird because he did Godfather Part 3, and apparently that was the movie that like, he got a lot of funding, and that was going to help keep his company afloat. And so he made that, and then it had some decent, traction, but it kind of got panned at the critically. But it's like, I don't know. Then he went to Bram Stoker's, and like in some of the commentary it was saying that like Winona Ryder was a big advocate for this film, and so that's kind of what got it going. But I don't know, kind of weird. I mean, I'll tell you later with the money, but it like really did rocket him up there. But then he just, I don't know, man, he went and made some weird movies. He really did. He did Jack right after that. Weird.
Oh God, I forgot he did Jack.
Weird.
That is so weird.
Weird. And then that's
weird.
kind of what he did though. He did Jack, and then he just went and made whatever he wanted, which is kind of cool, I guess. But none of his movies are like, I've never heard of them. So, anyways.
What was your, then realizing you hadn't seen this, what was your first impression? We're 25 minutes into the podcast. I'm asking you your first impression.
My first impression. Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, hey, bud, we don't. This isn't supposed to be super tight. We're doing.
I have a lot to say about this movie, so we're gonna go like an hour and a half.
I know, sure. I mean, we'll go as long as we're allowed. But
just kidding, I don't have that much to say.
Kind of really though. It's like my first impression was. It goes in order of like camp, and then beautifully crafted in camera, effects and old school 20s tricks, and like homage to the highest order of homage, like to where it like it is kind of like it's ripping it off so much to where you're like, if it wasn't crafted so well and I didn't know behind the scenes, I would kind of think like, oh, sure. I mean, yeah, you're just doing what old directors do. Kind of like, whatever, good for you. But knowing it's Francis Ford Coppola, he clearly gets a large pass on that. And it's like, I totally respect it. And I love it. I love looking at it. So it's like, I fucking love it. I think that it aged like a fine Coppola wine. But I hated the like love story. And I hated Gary Oldman's performance. I don't care. Everyone out in podcast land, come at me, bro. Come on my letterbox. Come on Instagram. Come on Reddit. Gary Oldman's portrayal of Dracula
was whatever.
It was dorky and dumb. I hated it.
It was.
But I'll remember it. I'll remember it as kind of being fine. And like in a year, I'll be like, oh, that was kind of fun, Gary Oldman. But I like the whole time I was watching it, I was just like, this is lame. That's
the whole thing about this movie, I think, because it's like, so I was falling in love with it the first like 45 minutes or whatever. Like, right, yeah. I'm like, oh, dude, this is fucking brutal. And this is
whole time I'm like, hey, this is Nosferatu, cool.
Yeah,
like,
this
I
is
didn't realize it was going to be like
amazing
such, like,
set design.
and it looks beautiful. Yeah,
It looks so good. The cinematography and like the editing that they did for the time, and like the kind of like splicing and the effects that they kind of did for like compositions and like the in-camera effects and like miniatures and shit. Forced perspective and everything. Like they did a lot of really cool tricks, and I was like really blown away with the actual filmmaking craft, right? And then it's like the acting was just really all over the place, and I feel like that maybe came down to the directing. Like he was so focused on like the look and like the vibe, which is cool, but I feel like on the one end of the spectrum, you have like Keanu who's just mumbling through his lines.
No, straight up was like just coming off of 3 movies. He was just give the man a break. He's
the
beautiful.
man. We've said it. I've said it once. I've said it before. I love Keanu Reeves. He's a beautiful man, but he can't act. He's not a good actor.
No, he's not.
He's never been a good actor. He's always
never will be. He's just a good guy. Like he's kind of. It's like where Viggo Mortensen. Don't get me wrong. Viggo Mortensen's like a good actor.
Yeah.
He can act pretty good, but he plays like a trope, and then he's just a good guy. Half the time you're like, oh, he's just like he's cool and he's a good guy. That's what Keanu Reeves just does that for me.
Don't get me wrong. Keanu Reeves has got his moments. Like in this, he had one good emotional moment in this that was really impactful. Other than that, he's like, no, don't do it.
Dude, his reactions, it's like I was like, wait, they didn't use any green screen, but he was acting like he was just looking at a tennis ball half the time. I was like, bro, where's your eye line?
Shaking his keys off camera. Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu. Like, no, but I think Keanu was like, I bet you $1 million, like, because how they shoot all that practical stuff, it's like, it's really wild trickery. And so, like, he's probably on there kind of half confused. Like, what the fuck? He's like, how's this going to look in camera? Like, he's like confused. He's like, I don't understand how this is going to work. Yeah. He's like, this is a miniature train and I'm holding a big book. What the fuck's happening?
Which that shot is so sick.
That shot is fucking dope,
so
dude.
sick.
Going through this, like, that is literally, I wish there was, I'm going to watch this on mute next time. It's like, I didn't care about any of the story or characters.
It's like, on the other end of the spectrum, you got like Gary Oldman and like Anthony Hopkins and fucking Tom Waits, who are doing these super over-the-top theatrical performances. Oh, yeah, Tom Waits is always cool.
Anything he in. Oh, my God, I love Tom Waits, dude. I can't, like, I kind of forgot. Thank you. I forgot about Tom Waits for a minute because his character it does not fit in this movie at all. Yeah. So it's great. But it's cool that he's Renfield. I'm like, all the characters are there, all the people, you know.
Yeah, it's fun. And, like, Carrie Ooles is, like, the other suitor, and he's got a sexy mustache and everything. But it's like everyone... Yeah. Like, Carrie Ooles is playing it pretty, like, straightforward and realistically, where Gary Oldman is, like, the most, like, he's like, it's a very theatrical performance, which is kind of suits the tone of the movie, but it was just so inconsistent. So I understand what you're saying. Like, the performance was, like, the best performance was Tom Waits and fucking Anthony Hopkins, for sure. And Winona Ryder did pretty good, too, honestly. She had moments for sure. But
I mean, Winona Ryder can play kind of play this, like, I don't know, like she's got like such like great crazy eyes that like she plays.
Yeah, because like near the last half of the movie, she kind of like she gets like into her darker side because the character is really just like this boring sycophant like character, but then like she gets all dark eyed and like Dracula, sexy Dracula, you know,
right?
They like burn her forehead. I like that.
But I gotta say, like, I wish that they replaced the what is it, Demeter or whatever, the boat ride. I wish they replaced the boat ride with the really fucking obnoxious, sexy lesbian scene where the two girls for the boat ride is like 35 seconds, and then there's like literally like 15 minutes of them running around in flowy dresses in their backyard in that like little hedge maze, and they're just running around, floating around, giving little kisses to each other and being like hee hee hee, and like, we're so lesbian, and like, look at us, like 69 here, and they're just like floating around, and I'm like, the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, this is so boring. It's so annoying.
That's what hurt me, man. It's like
so boring. I'm like, this is like, okay, cool. Like, Winona Ryder's figure is kind of flowing through the dress. Like, okay, once I like saw this, like, I don't know. I'm like, I get it. I get some fucking horn dog was like, oh, Francis Ford Coppola is like, I got these young girls in my midst. Like, I may as well
and they're
show
like
their
trying
bodies.
to make it the whole thing sexy. Like, you gotta make it sexy, right?
It's not playful and sexy at all. It's so awkward and it's so uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, it's weird. But like that's when it's as soon as Dracula gets to London, like there's still some cool moments, but that's when it grinded to a halt pace-wise for me, and I just got so bored. Like they did some cool stuff like his reflection in the window and everything, but
Cool.
But even then
that's what I'm saying.
The movie
God,
went but even so the cinematography and all the cool tricks like really dialed down too for like a good 45 minutes in the middle of the movie. So it's like there wasn't even like, I don't know, like it was not even as exciting to look at anymore until he was a beast fucking her friend. But up until that point, it's like, I don't like this romance story works. It's just like shouldn't be, and it can be a central part of the story. Like it doesn't have, because it is the focus. But this movie's already running 2 hours plus. Yeah. It's like just trim it down to cut off the fat off the romance stuff. Like we get it. We don't need to spend so long where they're like dancing.
So well, Nosferatu, he like literally sees the picture and he goes, "She's beautiful," and then that's like it. And then his like journey is to get there and meet her. And there's no weird courtship that he does like that. It's like seriously like 30 minutes of him like trying to court her, and I'm like, this isn't. I mean, I get.
He's like dancing. He's like dancing with her and everything.
Yeah,
and like,
right. Like I think the romance side of it is actually, it can be really cool and really powerful. But I think done by this like weird, I don't know, Francis Ford Coppola is like, he's a dude. He doesn't write women well, and so it's like he never has, and so it's just like watching this movie. I'm like, dude, stop like being so gross and weird and like. In a boring way. I don't know. Anyways,
no, I
I
agree because even the friend who is like overly sexual and had the Kama Sutra book and was like, "Oh, I did that in my dreams," and all this, and it's just like,
oh my God, it's so
it felt like
cringy,
it was
dude.
trying to be modern and like hot, and I'm like, that is definitely not like how.
No.
I mean, whatever. Like I people fucked back then for sure, but like,
oh, of course, I'm clearly like I think the most convincing part is when they're at the porn house, like when they're watching the cinematograph or whatever, and he's like, "Please show me the cinematograph," and she's like, "Ooh, you weird pig! If you want to see a cinematograph, go get there's a map of the town down the street. Use a penny." And he's like, "Oh, I don't have a penny to my name. I want you." And yeah, I don't know, man.
And then the wolf breaks in and he's like, "Come, beast, come here, pet him."
And then it's like not a wolf. It's not like a wolf.
Just someone's dog, yeah.
Like turned into a completely different dog. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's where like it is. This was like way too much. It was like too long.
The whole like chase sequence at the end, like they're trying to beat him back to Transylvania to his castle.
Oh my God,
that was like 5 minutes.
You can't do a map with the choo-choo train going across it in a chase scene in the middle. It was so like the momentum
it's like
just
months.
kept.
They're like, we're gonna sail halfway around the world.
Half the world.
He's sailing.
Right.
We gotta cut him off, and she's all like, "No, I need Dracula's cock." And it's like 5 minutes. Like I don't know. Like that's way more interesting. I don't know. Like that's actual conflict. Like, I don't know. It's like I buy the romance without having to spend so much time. Like, I feel like they're trying to court me into being, like, invested. And I'm like, I'm invested, but it's like there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's, like, a whole crazy undead, like, he has, like, crazy supernatural powers that are just, like, beyond the realm of anything,
and, like,
which are awesome, but...
It's weird. It's weird where, like, this movie will explain a lot to you, but then, like, him just showing up with all the crates of Earth and then him becoming super virile and like young and then turning into a weird beast and like all his shape-shifting and his weird things and then and it's weird because they show you things and then later they'll like do this like weird exposition where it's like he could be anything. He could be fog. And then there's fog. Like 10 seconds later, he's like a green fog that missed through. And you're like, okay, these are cool things that he can do, but it's almost like there's too much. You like wanted just everything. You wanted to like you threw it out the wall and you were like everything's gonna stick. We're just gonna make him do everything. And now he's this weird beast, and it seemed so jarring because I was like, I guess it's like I get it. He's supposed to be coming in here, and then he becomes young and a beast, and it's like, and so I'm like, I guess he can just like he's connected to the women because he can see them in the clouds, and he's a cloud guy. It's like I wish there was more of like a connection.
He's a cloud guy, He's
a cloud guy.
I'm a cloud guy,
It's like I get he has the eyes and stuff, and he can see through the storms. But it's like If that's
that's-
it, I mean that's cool, but
that's
it's like
the whole
so
thing,
high
though, man.
concept where you
That-
kind of lose it.
Exactly. He's like this ethereal, like basically demigod that's so mysterious in his powers that it's hard to have this they're like, oh, he's a mystery. He can turn into 1,000 rats. He can fucking be fog.
That scene was pretty sick.
So dope. But
I mean, yeah,
You know,
it's better. It's better in Nosferatu.
Yeah.
In where Herzog's.
yeah, all the rats. But it's like you have him be this super mysterious thing, but then yet you're trying to humanize him with this like, oh, he's lonely and he has love. It's like it's hard to do both, and I don't think it quite pulls it off, but also you focus more like me as a viewer, I'm like, I don't need to know the answers, but I'm like, there's some weird shit going on with this supernatural being that's this ancient undead creature of a fucking lord of a lost kingdom, but he's just dancing with this woman who's like a fucking bookkeeper or whatever. And
right. And it's like you
it's
wanna
hard
make it
to like reconcile the two, kind of, you know what I mean? Especially when they
almost
spend
wish
so
they-
much time on the one.
Yeah, and I wish that they like what they would do is like have him be like evil and stuff, but then I wish that Winona Ryder actually, because I mean Francis Ford Coppola can't write women for shit, but I wish he would have her confront him and be like, well, hey, I'll be your bride, but you gotta like chill your shit out, and then have him be like, kind of be like, oh, well, I don't know.
They
you know,
cut
it's,
the
like,
scene
hard
where they're
for me.
like, what do you want for dinner tonight? And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
You
right.
decide. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
right.
can't decide either. And he's like, you better chill
Yeah.
out, Dracula.
Yeah, they cut out. Yeah, they cut out the.
It's like, I want the blood of the
married with-
innocent. I was thinking.
Married with children. Yeah,
I was thinking
yeah.
Arby's.
She's like, all right. She's like, honey, we can have the blood of the virgin later.
Yeah.
But right now,
we
I'm
had virgin blood last night. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I was thinking Chinese. Like,
And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And he's like, I'm gonna be in my concubine room or whatever. But I don't know. I just wish that I wish that she just
I don't know.
was.
it
better
was.
written, but,
This whole movie was really cool, though. That's the whole thing. It's like, it was really cool, and it had like a lot of really fucking innovative and like.
I like how bombastic it was. I like how
just-
over the top. And as I said earlier, I was kind of being a little hyperbolic that Gary Oldman's is like the worst. But it's like he's good at acting. It's just I think that the tone was so weird.
Weird.
Like you said, everybody's tone was at a different.
Everyone
level.
was different.
And-
Yeah, that's what was
I-
off about
And I
it for
feel
me.
I feel like Francis Ford Coppola, because like all the things I saw, Francis Ford Coppola and Gary Oldman didn't really connect on this movie either, and so I think that really does show. But it's
That
like
makes sense. Yeah.
I just feel like Gary Oldman was like, I want this character to be something, and Francis Ford Coppola is like, well, I want the character to be this, and then they compromised, and so you've kind of got the tone. The tone feels like we're watching Sleepy Hollow. Like it feels like he watched 1989's Batman and was like, oh, I'm gonna see that old Timmy. He's got a good idea on how to shoot a fanciful movie, and so he's like
God,
doing
I kind of
that.
wish Sleepy Hollow leaned into it in a way. Like this is like Sleepy
know,
Hollow if Sleepy Hollow took itself way too seriously. Like
Yeah, well, Sleepy Hollow like stays
it
consistent.
knows
throughout
it's
the whole
kind of
thing.
tongue in cheek too. You know, it knows what it
Yeah.
is, and that's why honestly Sleepy Hollow is one of Tim Burton's betters.
Right,
Uh,
right, and that was a movie we
watched
both
last
enjoyed.
year for surprisingly enjoyed too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
more
right.
than I thought I
think
was
that-
going to.
I think
But
that's what it is. Where I was expecting to like this more, and so I think I'm just coming at it in a weird, like my expectations were
Yeah.
higher than I thought they were going to be because like you said, like that good like hour mark, I was like when he comes to London, it really like just
it
it's
drags.
Like, I'm like, oh my
it
God, I
like
can't-
grinds to a halt.
I
After
was
that.
I was on board with him being like Dracula and looking like the Count and being like super ridiculous.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
sexy
But, like,
steampunk
when-
sunglasses and everything. Like I'm there
him
for
going
it.
that-
But
No,
it just doesn't. But it
it's-
doesn't
no,
quite
but
do
it's
it right
so
though. You know?
awkward.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
It
awkward.
doesn't. It's like it almost like I don't know. It just he just takes on too many forms where it's like it's kind of like it becomes like exhausting, and I'm like all right, I don't know. It's like we get it.
I think
He should have
the
just killed everybody immediately and then fucked her. That would have been cool.
yeah.
I would have seen it, dude. If Edgar's doesn't have full penny and Nosferatu, I'm out, dude. I'm
better.
walking, man. I'm walking, dude.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see, huh? Because it's like, how does a modern day Nosferatu work when it basically is just Dracula? I guess Dracula is, I think, public domain now, so maybe it doesn't matter. But
No, but I think Nosferatu has its own I wonder
It
what
probably
he's
does
going to do.
now. Yeah, it probably does have its own thing now. But anyway, this movie, I knew that it was kind of like a love-hate, like more of a cult classic. Like I knew it had issues going in. And so I think I kind of agree. Like I gave it like 3.5 stars because I did really enjoy it, and I think the strengths outweigh the weaknesses. But the weaknesses are not just like something you can cut out surgically. Like I do think this movie would be helped if they did, they cut out 25 minutes and most of it was in the middle. But it's like this movie is deeply flawed and like overly ambitious and a little disjointed.
I think that's where it is. It's like, it's so big. Like it almost like this movie should be an hour longer with flushing people out a little bit more,
True,
like
like make the third act like way longer, you know what I mean? Because
you're right. And it's like having like having three suitors for that one. It's like she got such a large part of the movie for something that literally could have been like 2 or 3 scenes.
Yeah, and if you're going to focus on her, because I did think she was interesting, but then it's just like the demise, like once she becomes a vampire, it's over pretty quickly. But that scene, we don't ever really do this anymore, but that was probably my favorite scene. I mean, other than the opening was dope, but...
Oh, that's right, because she turns into when she goes back into her coffin, that's
all
thick.
white, and she comes back with the child. Because Carrie Oles is like, where is she? And then she comes down and she has the kid and drops it, and then they fucking like knock her down and he drives the stake in her heart. Like, and Carrie Oles is crushing it right there too.
Yeah.
And then they cut her head off, and it's just like all the white. Like, just this movie visually has just got some really standout moments that just stand out visually. But just her just doused in white with a fucking stake in her chest and blood oozing out her mouth. And she's painted as white as her dress. Like this bride, this unholy succubus. And even fucking Helsing is like, there's so many cool metal clips from Helsing that I want to put in a fucking metal album where he's just like, he's like, she's the devil's bitch now. You know what I mean? All this. And I'm like, she is. Yeah, it's Satan's succubus. And then they cut off her head and it flies through the air in slow-mo. It's cool,
That's
because when this movie hits, it hits fucking hard. But as a package, it's kind of a mess.
Asleep.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess as a package.
No, right, and that's
What else we got? Give me a money minute. I'll pull up a couple. Let's see what everyone else thinks, because I do think this movie is pretty divisive. I can speak. Divisive.
Well, I know that you like this out there in podcast land, and I love you for that. I really like. This is a movie that I can totally understand why this would be like one of your favorite movies, and I can see why you would remember this fondly, because I know for a fact I will think about this in a positive light.
Yeah.
Like I don't hate this movie.
Everything that's boring will fade into the background, and all the cool shit will stand out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so you'll be like. Because I would watch this again. I'm sad Mary didn't watch it, because I honestly think she would probably like it because of all the romance bullshit.
Yeah. But the romance is kind of lame. I don't know. It's weird. It's like, it's just like not as good as it. I don't know. Yeah, it's not as good as it could have been. That's what sucks. Is like
it could have been.
I see the potential where this could have been really tight, and so
that's where it hurts.
And I'm like, I'm nervous about Nosferatu's, Edgar's, because I don't know. I think he's gonna try to just make it cool and not super intimate. I don't know.
Well, that's the whole difference between Nosferatu and Dracula. It's like Dracula that's the main difference, because they're obviously based on the same source material. They have essentially the same plot, but Dracula is this lonely sort of tragic character, where Nosferatu is a monster. You know what I mean? And it's it's just like, it'd be interesting. In my perspective, he has this he's humanized as in like having this allure, because in the Klaus Kinski Werner Herzog version, like he's obviously like super smitten, and like but he's just like, he's obviously this like masquerading as, God, what was this other vampire movie? They're like, you know what I mean? It's like he's a monster masquerading as a man, you know what I mean, and all this. But I don't know. I'm not nervous, but I gotta not be too hyped, so I don't have over expectations for Nosferatu. So.
Right, but I mean, this movie did great for him. It was $40 million to produce, and it made $215 million. So it really just
And $40 million is actually kind of lower than I thought, considering how much is going on. You're like,
it's because that's what I'm. Oh, see, I wanted to connect this. So remember, you have to remember this, Leaves. We got to talk when we're talking budgets. This was 40 million, and it looks beautiful and timeless. Where Dawn of the Dead was 26 million, and it looks terrible. Like, and so it's just kind of one of those like the remake, yeah. And the makeup effect is all the practical effects in Dawn of the Dead remake are beautiful. They're amazing. The squibs are cool. Everything about it that is cool. But then it's like the stuff that you know is CG. It's like looks like CG really bad, and it's even like poorly done in effects. Like when that explosion happens in that movie, it's like the fire effect is literally just like a bright light on them, and they're like, oh, like it's not.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty rough.
The fake fire is like they're not even reacting to real. Like they don't even have like a fake fire that's just like one little tiny fire thing that blows near them.
Save it. We're gonna talk about Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. I know, but it's like we only have like 5 minutes to talk about it, so I just wanted to kind of get a little bit in there because that movie had a high budget for kind of what it was because they leaned so heavy into CG. Where this movie, Francis Ford Coppola put his foot down and said, "No, I'm not using any CG. Period." In this movie, and he never did.
It was also like over 10 years later, which is like CG. Was a little bit more accessible, but it's like they kind of cut corners with the CG in Dawn of the Dead. It was definitely more like After Effects style CG, not like a true CG house. That did it, you know?
Right. No, you can definitely tell it's like they're using like the top of the line, like mid-tier package that you can get for the time in Dawn of the Dead. But anyways, the budget. I mean, the budget is almost half the budget. So it's like, who knows how good Dawn of the Dead could have looked. But regardless of that, this is a pretty modest budget for what we got. And I do think it is because practical effects are cheaper to do. And so it's just like you do everything in camera and you're done. You don't have to re-edit this whole thing again with CG like they did. Like Van Helsing is like a good point in this where it's like they relied.
Why didn't we put Van Helsing in the month? Why didn't we watch fucking Van Helsing?
I love Van Helsing, and so it's like, but that movie like aged poorly, buddy.
Yeah.
It looked pretty bad like 5 years later.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look good. It doesn't hold up at all. But it actually still doesn't look that bad for some CG today. It's kind of funny how that works. It's like it catches up, and then there's like a weird like yo-yo effect or like slinky effect where it's like, you know, it looks really good at one point and then it kind of stretches out and like then it starts looking good again and like but old looks better than the middle stuff, and so it's weird. I don't know. Spawn looks really bad. You ever see Spawn?
Oh yeah, dude. I haven't watched
that CG is disgusting. It's so bad.
So Clones of People 2 says I first saw this a long time ago and was not impressed, but I enjoyed it much more this time. It is certainly flawed, but there are a lot of great aspects, and it's an interesting interpretation of the story and a worthwhile entry into the most portrayed character in film. 162 films, according to Guinness World Records, which is fucking crazy.
Holy shit! 162 films.
Yeah,
that are
Dracula.
Are like Dracula, dude. That's fucking dope.
Fucking wild, right?
That's cool.
Gary Oldman is fantastic under so many different types of makeup. He's always great. It sometimes suffers from being too experimental with maybe some bad editing and over-the-top scenes, but sometimes that works to create great atmosphere. I like the uses of red. Those titles were nice. Yeah, absolutely. And shadows in the film. Overall, 8 out of 10, despite the oddness. It makes me want to watch more Dracula. Right? Yeah, I can't believe that. Because, you think about it, there's so many other just countries. It's like, it's such a timeless story.
Right.
At this point, that it's just like, oh God, it just seems like it's.
And it must have, there must have been some copyright thing with it where it's like, they didn't want like to have super hard control, so they kind of just let anybody do it because it's like 162.
I'm fairly certain it's been in the public domain for a while.
Okay,
I guess I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain because it came out over 100. It came out over 100 years ago.
Well, yeah, I know, but like usually those are like 70 years or something. It's like
50 years after the author dies is what it's supposed to be in America.
Right.
Anywho. So, and then
Gary Oldman's performance in this. I'm watching a trailer of it, and it's like, it's bad, dude. I don't know. It's dorky as hell.
Hey, Clones of People 2 likes it.
Hey, no. I like.
That's
this
the thing.
movie.
Gary Oldman is a great actor, and I think, like you said, I don't think it's his fault that it was poor. That his acting felt weird in this. I think it was Francis Ford
No.
Coppola's. I think it was
Right.
I think he wasn't directed right. You know what I mean? Like I don't think,
Well, I think
Francis
he just-
Ford Coppola got consistent performances, right? Because it's like
Right.
I always tell people that are not as versed in film as me, you know. I always am like,
Nerd.
if a good actor is acting really bad in a movie, most of the time either they're phoning it in or the director doesn't know what the fuck to do with them. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, that's the director's job. Especially if it's like an ensemble cast and it feels like they're all in different movies. That's some fucking inconsistent directing, you know what I mean? But anywho, so Gummy Bear Attack, and I knew he'd be critical because he's the biggest Dracula fanboy I've ever met.
Oh, really? He loves him. Okay, cool.
I swear to God, it's his holy text or something. But
Okay.
I hope he listens to this. Come at me. I don't know who is more responsible for this. So Gummy Bear Attack says, I don't know who's more responsible for this movie, Coppola or Hart. Regardless, your changes, additions make the story much weaker and are all mistakes. The scenery, costumes, and cinematography are all fantastic, though. The acting by most of the cast is mediocre. Looking at you, Keanu. But the good performances are amazing, specifically Winona Ryder. Yeah, she did. I hated this movie. Hotel Transylvania does a better Dracula, in my opinion.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's what I'm saying. This movie is divisive, man, but I kind of like it for that. It makes it kind of more interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, though, I'll just kind of. It doesn't sit in my nostalgia wheelhouse. Like where like Van Helsing, I have a softer spot for that. But like, I know it's not a good movie. Yeah. I just still like I have nostalgia glasses.
This would be a fun one. Like
I think
having
seen
seen it,
younger.
Having seen it once, this would be a good like party background movie now on Halloween because it's so visually kind of captivating, but you don't like. You know, the actual ins and outs and the beats like don't really work as good, but it's like I feel like in the background it'd be a lot of fun. Just like drinking.
Story too, really,
and the score is simple, but it's like pretty bombastic, which I liked. It's super like in your face, especially near the beginning. I mean, the beginning it had such a good first impression. That's the thing. The first impression was so good.
Right, and the first hour is basically Nosferatu, so I was down, and then
right, and then another opponent. This is another one ripping on Keanu. The only thoughts I have about this movie was that there was a reason why people dismissed Keanu as an actor until fairly recently. He's been in so much good stuff, and he always does a fine job. But I don't know what it is with him, man. He's got a learning disability or something.
I was talking to Victoria earlier where I was like, he can only get typecasted as one character, and he's amazing at it. And that's when he's quiet and does action. That's the greatest. Like John Wick, he's amazing. Constantine, beautiful performance because he's quiet.
I like Constantine.
Constantine is not. He's a quiet
even
human
like
being.
The Matrix and like Point Break, like. He has these big emotional moments, but
they're bad. No, Point Break is terrible, dude.
Dude, Point Break rules, but even when he's like, like I don't know, it just always feels like he's got like a wet blanket thrown on him or something. Anyway, but we love him. I don't know what it is.
I do.
I want to kiss him.
Right. Well, no, he just seems so nice. Like I want to shake his hand. Oh God, what happened?
Nothing. We're good.
What'd you do? You forget to record?
No, the video is going to be a little fucked up there. I just accidentally bumped my mouse and it clicked out of it. Discord. Anyway, so it's good though. But anyway, do you know if Travis called? I know he watched the movie.
I didn't get an email from him.
Okay.
I thought he was gonna. I thought he said he was gonna leave a message, but
well, to be fair, I'll try and be like a little bit more. So, when the movies that are a part of the votes are the movies that we're watching. So I know it's sort of last minute, but like we're watching it every day. But it's kind of fun to be on your heels like that. Like I didn't know like Tuesday, I didn't know what I was gonna watch. Yeah. Until it was like that night, you know, because I mean it was definitely leaning towards Dracula near the end there, but for a minute it was
close. It might have been fucking it might have been Resident Evil.
Yeah, Resident Evil was the second. I
kind of wanted to watch Resident Evil because I haven't seen it forever, but
Gat voted for Resident Evil because he's never seen it. But
that's wild. I think Gat would like it.
It's fun.
I don't know though. I have no idea what he likes.
I voted for Dracula. I didn't know.
This?
Oh, he hasn't watched any of the movies this month. He hasn't had time.
Oh, he's been.
He hasn't even watched Monty Python yet. He says he wants to, but
Yeah, I mean, no, he can catch up. Don't worry. The movies keep coming, baby. They just keep coming at me. And I'm like, I'm watching more, dude. I watched Phenomena. I'm like, I'm getting into this, man. We gotta take these laid back, baby, because I'm watching so many movies. I don't even have time to look at Victoria. I'm not doing.
That's why I changed the setup of
like,
my room is so I don't have to sit in this chair when I watch movies alone. You know what I mean? I can just sit over in my cozy chair over here and get super baked and get really into it. It's great. It's a good time.
Well, guys, I'm glad that you stuck around. If you made it to the end of this guy,
you made it this far.
This beauty.
Thanks for voting.
You're amazing.
I gotta say quickly out there, if you're listening to this and you've made it this far, please come give us your thoughts on the Reddit. Like, I would love to hear it. I see people vote, like, going on, like, Letterboxd and stuff, which is awesome. But it's like, I want people on the Reddit. And more people have been, so it's great. So come to the Reddit. Come tell us about it. Come talk to us.
You should read. I'm on the Reddit right now. You should read David, or excuse me. I don't need to blast his name out there, but you should read. Yeah, you don't know who we're talking about, but he wrote a comment and he commented. His comment on Reddit is exactly what you just said, and we're gonna have to ask him what album he's talking about. I'm very confused.
All right, he said, I'm happy to have seen this because now I know where the intro track on the excellent Caliban Heaven Shall Burn split album from 2000. The split program is from, except instead of the orchestral swell crescenting to nothing like it does several times in the movie, on the album it leads right into some tasty melt-your-face tunes. Watching the movie kept giving me metal blue balls as it played for 4 or 5 times and never paid off. That is a good way to put it, though.
Art Snipply, baby. Thank you.
Dude, Caliban's cool. I like Caliban.
Oh, so it's Caliban's the band. Okay.
It's a split.
And then
it's Kevin.
Shelburne.
Yeah,
okay.
Caliban and him Shelburne. So I'm gonna look that up actually because
me too.
I want to hear the the sound bites. Yeah.
Reddit, dude. Yeah.
All right. All right. So anyway, keep watching the horror movies. I mean, today this will come out on the day that I think Street Trash is the movie. So keep watching them, and then obviously we'll vote, and we'll do. I don't know what pod we're doing next week until fucking Tuesday or whatever. So vote, and we'll get another round going, and we'll see you then. And I hope in the meantime you're watching lots of these horror movies. So I want to hear.
Yeah, keep getting spooky, friends.
Spooky. All right, that's it, right? We're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good Lord, deliver me from this evil.
All right. Goodbye.
All righty. See ya. I'm gonna go sleep in my homeland's dirt.
I know. I'm gonna start sleeping in dirt. It might give me powers. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Next time I go back up to Idaho, I'm gonna just bring a bucket of dirt just back with me, just in case.